Today we're in Pascagoula, Mississippi to christen the latest national security cutter, Stone.
It's truly a great honor for me to be here today. As was mentioned, I've been doing this aviation thing for a while, and so to be able to come here to this shipyard at on this occasion as we christen a national security cutter named after Elmer Fowler Stone, Coast Guard Aviator number 1. I come on behalf of the thousands of Coast Guard aviation folks who have served since Elmer Stone's time, and it's truly a blessing.
For me, as the Coast Guard's senior aviator, it's especially important because today, by naming this cutter after Elmer Fowler Stone, we'll pay tribute to one of the true legends of our service, and one that paved the way for Coast Guard aviators ever since then. I'm Coast Guard Aviator number 2311. Elmer Stone was Coast Guard Aviator number 1, and every Coastie knows about Elmer Stone and of his accomplishments.
And what he did in the course of 3 short years, from 1916 until 1919, he established himself as a fearless aviator. And you had to be fearless in those days, given what they were flying. And as a real visionary that could see how aviation could contribute to the missions of not just the Coast Guard, but the nation as a whole. And he was one of the most accomplished aviators in our nation, in the world.
So whether it was his skill in piloting the NC-4 in the first transatlantic flight in 1919, just 13 short years after the Wright brothers first took to the air, or whether it was his duty during wartime as a sailor with the Navy, or as commander of the Coast Guard cutters, 2 different Coast Guard cutters in the Prohibition era, Elmer Stone made an impact on our service that lasts until today. And it's no exaggeration to say that every Coastie who has taken to the air in service of our nation has stood on the shoulders of Elmer Stone. And as I go through the legends that we've named these national security cutters after, Bertolf and Stratton and Wacie and James and Kimball, these are names that everybody in the service knows. And so for Elmer Stone to stand alongside them, I think is entirely appropriate, and it is fitting of this great class of legend class ships.
I've been doing this about 39 years. And I about 38 and a half of that, I've been part of this enduring rivalry between our cuttermen and our aviators. I've heard every aviator joke that's ever been said. But my point is that when you think of the legacy of the first aviator, and you think about how our aviation team served today, when operations get started, the jokes are over with. And our aviators are part of the Coast Guard team that saves people, that interdicts tons of illicit narcotics, and that does great things wherever and whenever our nation needs them to do. Captain Morrison, as you and your crew continue to make Stone ready for operations, I wish you Godspeed. I know that you know this, but this cutter is named after one of the greatest people that's ever worn the Coast Guard uniform in the history of our nation. And so you stand on a firm legacy if you add your chapter to the legacy of the United States Coast Guard. And I wish you the very best.